It's time to go through the 6 most important exercises to build a functional, well-rounded and muscular physique. And not only am I going to tell you which 6 exercises these are, but also why you should be doing them so you understand the principles behind the most important muscles to build an aesthetic physique. Let's jump straight into it. Exercise number 1 is the incline dumbbell press. Now, the reason that I've selected all 6 exercises is because they all add something slightly different in order to complete your physique. And the reason we're starting with the incline dumbbell press is because the amount of efficiency is going to be a very key word in this video, you get from that exercise. Anytime we're choosing a compound exercise, we want to think, what muscles are we working and developing, and how many muscles can we develop with just one single exercise? The incline dumbbell press is hitting all of your pec major and your upper chest, your front delts, your lateral delts and your triceps all in one movement, which is a lot of the muscles that all men want to grow, and so to get that much bang for your buck, I've gone for incline here as opposed to flat because you're getting that extra upper chest activation there. And I've gone for dumbbell over barbell because although it's a slightly harder exercise because you're having to work more stabilization muscles, it's healthier as a result because it's more functional, and also the movement path of the weights is able to move within your own personal shoulder biomechanics as opposed to being limited to a certain hand width dictated by the barbell that you're using. Exercise number 2, I'm going to continue with the pushing exercises to start with, and we are going for the dips. Now, dips are fantastic because you can move on to weighted dips and continue to progressively overload far more effectively and easily than you might imagine. So if you're sitting there watching this and you've only ever done bodyweight dips before and you can do multiple sets of 8+ reps, start to think about weighted dips because they're a fantastic way to blow up your chest, shoulders and triceps once again, and continue to linearly progressively overload in the same way as you would on an exercise like an incline dumbbell press. The reason that I'm selecting dips alongside incline dumbbell is because you've got to think about the plane of motion in which you are moving the weight away from you whenever you're selecting any exercises. And with an incline dumbbell press, you are pushing the weight away from you in this direction. Got to be careful doing hand movements like that after Elon Musk got in trouble. And then with a dip, you're pushing the weight away from you in that direction. It's not completely vertical because you should be angling your torso and pitching your torso forwards as you're completing the dip and tucking your knees in towards your chest slightly, as you can see me doing in this video. And again, an extremely functional movement that's fantastic for your shoulder health and will explode your lower chest, your front delts and your triceps to finish off the most important chest, tricep and shoulder activation that you will need in 2 very effective exercises. Moving on to exercise number 3, I'm moving on to legs first of all, and we're going with the barbell back squat. Now, some people find the barbell back squat easier and some people find it harder. Well, the reality is everyone finds it incredibly difficult. It took me about 3 years of lifting, to be honest. I didn't have a coach when I first started out, and it took me 3 years of lifting to absolutely dial in my barbell back squat form because it's a difficult exercise to get right. There's lots of mental cues and lots of things to work on to get comfortable with it. But once you get it right, I feel like I'm cheating if I do a leg day without a barbell back squat because the intensity is unparalleled. The way that you can activate your quads and your glutes is unparalleled compared to any other machines, and your ability to get under heavy load and get close to failure is fantastic as well. And it's super functional. You're not locked into a hack squat or a leg press or something where you're using less stabilization and it's less biomechanically sound movement. You're able to move with your own personal bar path. You'll have to identify if you need a bit of a heel wedge or to work on your hip and ankle mobility in order to get deep enough, but the back squat is one of my favorite movements for developing the quads and the glutes. And now the next leg exercise, which is exercise number 4 in this list, is the Romanian deadlift. The reason I'm such a big fan of the Romanian deadlift, again, is efficiency, the amount of bang for your buck you get from this exercise. I've selected it over the conventional deadlift because you're able to use a lighter weight than you would otherwise use with a conventional deadlift, and you get more hypertrophic muscle activation from the Romanian than you do from the conventional deadlift. What do I mean by this? Now, a Romanian deadlift, you're keeping your knees only slightly bent. So there's a tiny bend in the knees and it's an almost completely straight leg, and you don't change the amount of bend in your knee as you complete the movement. You go from lowering the bar all the way down to the ground and stretching out your hamstrings, and then contracting your hamstrings to snap your body all the way back to vertical again. And what you're doing in order to support this weight and to complete this movement is you're loading your entire posterior chain. When you're standing upright and you're holding the weight underneath you, your hamstrings aren't contracting yet. However, your upper traps and your mid traps are working hard to support that weight. And as you start to pitch your torso over, that weight distribution starts to work its way down your mid traps and into your lower back. Meanwhile, your hamstrings and glutes are working hard and stretching in order to support, and they are the primary goal of this movement, which is to build the hamstrings. But as I just mentioned, all of that way along your posterior chain is helping out as you are moving along the movement. After exercise 4, we have covered off the entirety of the upper leg mass with the quads, the glutes, and the hamstrings. Don't get me wrong, this isn't going to be a fully comprehensive list because I'm not going to have any specific calf work in this, and I'm also not going to have any knee flexion hamstring work. The hamstrings have multiple muscle attachments. You can't hit all of them without having some kind of knee flexion hamstring work like you get in a sprint or like you get in a hamstring curl. So bear in mind this list is not entirely comprehensive, but we are trying to be as efficient as possible with just 6 exercises. Moving on to exercise number 5, and if you know me at all, you know that this exercise, or at least one of the exercises that's going to be in this list, is the pull-up. I've started every single pull day for the last 10 years with weighted pull-ups, or just normal pull-ups before I could do weighted pull-ups, because again, efficiency and what you're able to achieve with such a functional movement. With the pull-up, you are using your biceps, your rear delts, a bit of medial delt, a lot of your back, so primarily your lats, but also your mid traps, your lower traps as well. And you're also using your core, slightly engaging your core in order to stabilize the movement. And that is a lot of muscle mass just in one movement. It's also extremely functional, much like the dip, because you're just commanding your own body weight, and you are also able to overload it gradually as you get stronger and stronger. You don't just have to stop when you reach the ability to do 4 sets of 10 with your own body weight. And that is going to be my only purely pulling movement. So I'm not going to have any other kind of row in there. And the reason for that is you do get so much trap activation from the Romanian deadlift when you learn how to do it properly. And also enough trap activation from the pull-ups that I'm not going to include a horizontal row. And what I'm going to choose for exercise number 6 is the hanging leg raise. Now, hanging in general is fantastic for your shoulder health. Also, you're going to develop very strong forearms from the pull-ups and the hanging leg raise and the Romanian deadlift if you're not using straps. Which I recommend not using straps when you start out and then moving on to straps further down the line. But the hanging leg raise is also fantastic because it's an extremely intense core exercise where you're going to be directly attacking your abdominals, and you can manipulate this movement in order to focus more on your obliques or onto your six-pack so that you can treat those muscles like all the other muscles in your body and work in like a 6 to 14 rep range for maximum hypertrophy, bringing your toes all the way up to the bar if you can, and bending your knees if you can't do it with straight legs. The hanging leg raise has been the foundation of my core and ab work for the last 5 or so years, and I'm very keen on programming it with everyone that I work with, because it is such an effective exercise, and also super functional. We as humans came from monkeys to hang off things and swing from things. Extremely confidence boosting when you're able to control your own momentum in your swing and move your entire midsection by contracting your core like that. If we look over the entire list and the things that we've been able to cover off in these 6 exercises, we've got maximum effectiveness for our quads, our glutes, our hamstrings, our core, our chest, our front delts, our medial delts, our rear delts, our biceps, our triceps, our lats, and our traps, just from those 6 exercises. I know that if I just perform those 6 exercises once or 1.5 times a week, I'm going to maintain all of the muscle that I've built over the last 10 years, because that is definitely sufficient stimulus to maintain an aesthetic and well-rounded physique. Obviously, that should not be the extent of your training program. If you do need help with the training program, I have a very cheap training app with all of my programs and advice, which is linked in the description and in the comments of this video. Check that out if you want. It's free for 7 days, so you have absolutely nothing to lose there. What do you think about my list? Would you have expected me to say something else? Do you think it's comprehensive? Feel free to comment your opinion. And remember, everyone is slightly different. Everyone has slightly different biomechanics, and we all prefer slightly different movement patterns. These are the ones that work best for me, and I see the most success with my clients with. So yeah, drop me a comment, see what you think. Thank you very much for watching. See you on the next one.